Main role: persistently staying in the midst of the conflict between Hamas and Israel serves no purpose. Only a few people attempt to comprehend the global implications of what is transpiring. As I often emphasize, significant events should not be viewed solely through a local perspective. Let's avoid this limited viewpoint, whether it pertains to Turkey or Israel. Instead, let's begin our analysis from Kilik Daroglu today and extend our understanding to Hamas. Let's start in Israel, move to the USA, then to England, and finally to China to gain a broader perspective. The commencement of the Gulf operations, specifically Operation Desert Storm, in 1990 sent strong signals that the region was about to undergo significant changes. Subsequently, many things in Turkey and the surrounding region were never the same again. The USA was orchestrating a new strategy involving energy and energy routes through the Kurds, investing nearly $1 trillion annually in this endeavor. Consequently, Turkey transformed over time. The transformation of the CHP was even more profound than the emergence of the AK party. Deniz Baykal was removed from his position as part of a global initiative, and Kemal Bey took his place. Whether he was aware of it or not, his task was to reform the CHP fundamentally. The primary objective of Deniz Baykal and the former CHP was to preserve the official ideology. As the official ideology began to fade, changes within the CHP were inevitable, and so they occurred. Look at the new CHP. Do you see the same emphasis on nation-states, Turkishness, secularism, and Kemalism as before? Of course not. The military was also involved in these transformations, compelled by the evolving dynamics of the region. There was no alternative. Once you step away from the emotional perspective and choose to analyze things logically, the changes unfolding were undeniable. Continuing. One of the root causes and outcomes of the Second World War was the establishment of a state and homeland for the Jewish people. Jewish refugees, particularly from Europe, sought refuge in the USA, but they were denied entry. Instead, they were directed to return to their homeland, Israel, which had been created for them. The underlying strategy was clear: the Jewish state in the region would serve as a counterbalance to Muslims, preventing them from seeking other adversaries and fostering cooperation with the USA. This strategy effectively worked, defining the role of Israel. There is no need to exaggerate or misrepresent this role. Now, let's examine the other side of the equation. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, report on international arms transfers, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Egypt ranked among the top 10 countries importing the most weapons between 2018 and 2022. 9 Arab nations, with a significant presence from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Egypt, were among the top 40 importers of weapons worldwide during this period. In the export sector, the USA dominated, accounting for nearly half of global arms exports, while Saudi Arabia represented over 10% of global arms imports during 2018 to 2022. For example, when over 260 planes were sent to the Gulf region, they brought their pilots with them. In essence, the USA established a strategic partnership rooted in oil and weaponry with Saudi Arabia. This partnership was vital, and the notion that the USA would jeopardize its relationship with Israel for any reason, including its most sophisticated weaponry, seems implausible. The balance established in this manner put Palestine in the position of opposing and fighting against Israel, perpetuating a cycle of destruction, suffering, bloodshed, and tears in a region where festive celebrations should be taking place. Palestine inevitably became a symbol of the Arab world's struggle against Israel, and little sincere effort has been made to change the tragic fate of Palestine. Even today, the game set in motion after 1945 continues to unfold as intended, with the USA ensuring the rhythm is not disrupted. Let's now shift our focus to China. Building upon what I've previously written, although the AK party initially emerged from a tradition of wealth, it adeptly played a successful global game upon gaining power. The first president of the AK party was Abdullah Bey, who visited China. China, openly rivaling the USA and covertly opposing Russia, held strategic importance. President Gül then visited Urumqi, the capital of the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region in northeastern China, where he received a warm welcome. During his visit, President Gül proclaimed, "Turks and Chinese are brothers," sparking controversy. Under CIA influence, Rabia Kadir from the USA intervened, turning the region into a war zone. The USA asserted, Chinese and Turks cannot be brothers, challenging Turkey's policy. In Urumqi, China suppressed the events, resulting in loss of life, and undermined the strong potential bond with Beijing. Abdullah Gül and his associates also acted against the USA regarding the March 1 mill. A word or visit from the President of Turkey holds significant importance in the context of global balance and reciprocity. This dynamic unfolds instantly, impacting yesterday, today, and tomorrow. The Israel-Hamas conflict should be considered from a different perspective. What if Israel were to erase Gaza from the map, or if Hamas were to inflict more significant losses on Israel? These scenarios wouldn't bring about a fundamental global change. What truly mattered was whether Israel, with its designated mission from the USA, displayed any inclination to shift its course or deviate from its established path. These thoughts have been occupying my mind for the past few days. The urgency of establishing contact with China was undeniable. We were attempting to reach China through England. On the other hand, doesn't Hamas realize that such attacks would result in bombs falling on Gaza? Can't they foresee that civilians, children, innocent infants, women, and the elderly will lose their lives? Can't they anticipate that even if they damage Israel's reputation, they will receive a response in return? Similarly, doesn't Israel understand that the USA will come to its aid, even if it appears on the verge of collapse? This issue couldn't be resolved through warfare. The narrative that has persisted for 70 years was bound to continue. With numerous undisclosed and open bases in the region, the USA had no need to deploy an aircraft carrier to mediate between Hamas and support Israel. Their ability to intervene extended far and wide. Despite the potential for deviation from their prescribed roles, they needed to maintain a show of unity. And so it unfolded. We found ourselves caught between Israel and Hamas, forming our evaluations accordingly, bypassing the regional and subsequently the global rhythm. Naturally, this approach was insufficient, falling short in terms of understanding and explanation. Nonetheless, Washington was forging a coalition against Beijing, unlike anything previously seen in history, and we mustn't forget the role of London in this grand scheme. Note 1: Apart from President Erdogan, is there anyone outside of Turkey genuinely interested in setting up a table and finding a solution? The answer is no. Similarly, is there any other force actively seeking to disrupt the game? Again, the answer is no. This is the crux of the matter. Moreover, the USA has not abandoned the change it initiated in the region in 1990. This transformation continues through various channels, full steam ahead. Note 2: the book Danger by Bob Woodward and Robert Costa, prominent figures at the Washington Post, has brought to light a significant revelation. The book claims that U.S. Chief of Staff Milley reached out to his Chinese counterpart Li twice, on October 30, 2020, and January 8, 2021, reassuring that they wouldn't allow a war to erupt between the two nations. Does the expectation of war exist? Clearly, it does. Is the safeguard in place? Well, that remains to be seen.